While U.S. President Donald Trump is advising Ukraine to quickly take a seat at the table ahead of the trilateral talks, a real diplomatic drama with high-level trolling is kicking off in Geneva. The main news of the day: Russia suddenly decided to switch horses midstream, and instead of the military officials with whom the talks in Abu Dhabi were much more constructive, the Kremlin dusted off Vladimir Medinsky, the very same historian and ideologue whose fantasies about the past sometimes even surprise Russians themselves. But Kirill Budanov wouldn't be Budanov if he didn't meet such an opponent with his signature style. When announcing our delegation's trip, the head of the presidential office subtly hinted they're going to discuss lessons from Ukrainian history. That's a bit of a diplomatic slap in the face for Medinsky personally. Military experts are already saying outright, replacing serious negotiators with Medinsky is either the Kremlin's attempt to talk circles around everyone, shifting the focus from security to religion and politics, or just another act of stalling for time. Will Geneva become the site of a real breakthrough, or will it turn into yet another historical debate under the watchful eye of the State Department? The head of the president's office, Kirill Budanov, announced that the Ukrainian delegation has left for negotiations in Geneva. The consultations will take place on February 17th and 18th, with mediators from the U.S. participating, and are aimed at achieving a ceasefire and a prisoner exchange. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko stated that any peace agreement regarding Ukraine must take into account security guarantees for Russia and not be limited solely to the interests of the Ukrainian side. The spokesperson for the head of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Peskov, stated that during the negotiations in Geneva, the delegations intend to discuss, among other things, the issue of territory. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio admitted that Washington does not intend to force either side in the process of ending the Russian-Ukrainian war to agree to a future peace deal. Unlike previous meetings, Russia has downgraded the status of its delegation, which will now be led by presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky, who already took part in last year's negotiations in Istanbul and is known as a historian and Putin's ideologist. At that time, the Russian side refused a ceasefire and insisted on the recognition of the occupied territories, as well as on limiting the size of the Ukrainian armed forces. As Zelensky noted, during the previous round in Abu Dhabi, the Russian delegation, led by GRU chief Igor Kostyukov, turned out to be more constructive than during meetings with Medinsky. Military expert Alexander Musienko, in a comment to RBC, pointed out the trolling from the Ukrainian side. He pointed out that when Budanov announced the trip with his team on social media, he wrote that they would be discussing lessons in Ukrainian history, which comes across as a jab at Medinsky. This is a kind of trolling because, he's often called a historian, just like Putin. So basically, I think those who got it appreciated it, the source says. Musienko explains two key reasons why the Kremlin replaced the head of the negotiation team. The first reason is an attempt to show seriousness and interest in the negotiations. According to the expert, replacing Kostyukov with Medinsky is a formal move meant to create the impression of being ready to discuss not only military and security issues, like in Abu Dhabi, but also other points of the peace plan. The second reason is to drag out the process. Moscow, noticing that discussions along military lines are proceeding constructively, is trying to shift the focus of negotiations from security issues to political, social, and religious matters. And this, in the expert's opinion, allows the Kremlin to show that everything regarding security has been resolved, but that Ukraine is still not ready to take other steps. For now, this position remains unchanged. So under these circumstances, it's difficult to expect a breakthrough. But again, Ukraine is open to negotiations, provided, of course, that they are truly constructive, Musienko concluded. Notably, President Zelensky named his team NSDC Secretary Rustem Umerov, Presidential Office Head Kirill Budanov, Intelligence Deputy Vadim Skibitsky, Deputy Head Serhiy Kislitsia, Chief of General Staff Andriy Gnatov, and Servant of the People leader David Arakamia. And Umarov emphasized that the delegation combines military, political, and security expertise and will work on concrete solutions within the framework defined by the president. And the main goal of the Ukrainian delegation is a stable and lasting peace. And do you believe in such a peace? Write your thoughts in the comments and we'll read them. That's all for now. Give us a like.